Yeah, just want to again say how much I appreciate the fans and the environment that was created on Saturday. The electric atmosphere, for all 4 quarters, I thought was really cool, and really the challenge for our fans and for our students and for everybody associated with the program is to keep that same energy level, same passion and enthusiasm for all of our home games. Recreate that home field advantage. And that's the challenge for our team too, right? Is to take what happened last week and move on and move forward and create a new standard of how we perform. And I would challenge the fan base to do the same thing. ULL is a really good football team. They got 9 returning starters. They won 10 games last year, played for the Sun Belt Conference Championship. Last year beat a Power 4 team in the regular season. I think defensively the strength of their team is with their defensive line. And with as much pressure as we allowed and sacks as we allowed of our quarterback and our inability to gain short yardage in critical situations, I think it's going to be a real challenge for our team to improve in that way. Their offense is led by their 2 running backs. I think both of those guys are really good football players, and we know there's good running backs in the Sun Belt. We have one now that started his career there. So we know that those guys are really talented. I think they returned both starters at the tackle positions. And so, they allow, or they do a really good job controlling the clock. We know defensively that's something we must improve on after allowing, 3 really explosive long drives, one specifically in the 4th quarter. So something that we have to improve on, and this team is absolutely a team that will test us in those ways. Just a reminder that 8:30 tonight, our volleyball team plays here at home versus Stanford on ESPN, and I would encourage our students and fans to come out for that and not just show up for work. So with that, questions?
Questions? Starters.
Eli, when you say you're the biggest dork in college football, what's been the process, I guess, throughout your whole coaching career of embracing that and kind of realizing the importance of that self-awareness and transparency as a coach?
Yeah, I'm just trying to beat ULL. That stuff is fun, and I realize with the glasses and the persona, that's just part of who it is. I think embracing who you are and being authentic is the key to, being yourself. And if it works for you, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm really trying to figure out how to improve from our performance last week. Didn't feel like that as a team we did the things that we needed to do in critical moments when we really had a chance to put the game away. We have a chance at the start of the second half to go down. We have all the momentum and miss on a 4th down. Don't get points there, and then in the 4th quarter, we get the ball back. It's 3rd and 1, can't convert, punt them inside the 5, and they go 96 yards. So I don't know, being a dork, not being a dork matters and all that stuff. We just got to get it fixed.
Over on your left, Coach.
Coach, now that you've got some time to process Saturday, what would you say were some of the root causes of some of the breakdowns on the back end that led to some of those explosive passing plays from Kansas?
Yeah. A lot of root causes. One, too much scheme, too much their shifts and motions combined with too much in the game plan created a situation where we had confusion. That's on us as a staff to get that fixed. That's where it starts. So, when we played man-to-man, we were pretty good. We were attached to our players. When we got into our zone covers, when we had communication issues and eye issues and discipline issues, and that stuff's got to get taken off the tape. We had a first touchdown of the game. We have the tight end running right down the middle of the field on a play we practiced multiple times in the week, and don't carry over the execution to the game. So we got to look at that. Last drive of the game, we had the tight end running wide open right down the middle of the field. We busted coverage because we don't get a communication call between the linebacker lot of stuff that was really disappointing when we watched the tape, and I think all of us felt it and knew that we gotta play better.
In the back, coach.
Eli, I'm curious about, how do you appreciate the journey that Jamal Roberts has had here at Mizzou, and what was it like to kind of have him see him have that moment against Kansas on Saturday?
Yeah, I think Jamal's been one of those guys that, he came to camp in the summer of his senior year to earn a scholarship. Has been a guy that has contributed in a lot of different ways. We've always known he's been an explosive player, primarily a third down back last year, but had the game-winning touchdown versus Auburn. So we've got a ton of trust in him and faith, and I think his balance with Ahmad works out really well. And that was a great run. He trusted his path on the outside zone. I thought the wide receivers blocked really well. Caden was able to get up to the play side backer, and worked out good.
Coach over here with Eli.
Hey, Coach, with that balance between Jamal and Ahmad, maybe another thunder and lightning type duo, just how would you characterize that tandem of running backs?
Yeah, so far so good.
Right over here. Cal.
Looking at that, the end of the first half drive that we went down there 28 seconds, what is it about the offense, about Bo's game, that he's keeping so his rhythm that makes them effective in tempo situations like that?
Well, I think it was an effective play call by Coach Moore to get us going, and then, you know, the running back to break the big run. I mean, that's obviously when you're backed up the way you are. And if you look at our drive before half, the ones we've really been able to excel at, it's usually pops by a good run to start with, and so it's usually the tailback getting started. I think Tennessee game, K-State game 23, you know, and then this one, obviously those were runs that got us going.
Right there, in the middle.
Coach, with Cody Schrader getting signed to NFL roster by the Jaguars this morning, yesterday Luther making his regular season debut, you know, what does it mean to the program and also just to you yourself to see somebody who you've coached make their NFL debut get to that next level?
Yeah, Armand had a pretty good we talk about chasing two dreams, and helping guys realize their dream is really the fulfillment of our jobs. Me specifically, you know, wins and losses are going to come, and they're going to go, and they're going to be fleeting. And you can have a big win Saturday, but by Sunday you're already mad and moving on to the next thing. And but when you watch guys fulfill, you know, their dreams and see all their hard work and perseverance pay off, I think that's really when you find satisfaction in the job that you do.
Yeah, front, Gabe.
I apologize for kind of a random question, but
That's all
why?
right. There's been a lot of those today.
Why did you punt on the free kick after the first block PAT, and did you know that was an issue before today with what happened?
We just wanted to see if we could. You know, it's like asking your parents if you can do something that you know they probably shouldn't let you do, but sometimes they get it wrong.
Was anything said during the game?
Yeah. Yeah, we told them they'd screwed up a lot of stuff in the game. Just one of them. Yeah, no, I mean, that kudos to Coach Link. He asked if we could do that just because we had seen him in pregame really struggle with the sun and the fielding punts, and knew that was only allowable after a safety. That's the only time you get a free kick. Other than that, you have to use, you can either drop kick it or use a tee. So they said yes. What were we supposed to say? You know?
In the middle here.
Coach, Donovan's had a really strong first 2 weeks, especially for a freshman. What have you been most impressed by so far?
I think Donovan works really hard in practice. I think he's been able to carry over practice execution equals game day reality. We've seen those style of catches before. I think for Bo to have the confidence to throwing the ball in that spot, you know, really when he's double covered, I think shows how the quarterbacks felt about his route running and his ability to make tough catches.
On your left, Cal.
I think Walker Howard, the quarterback, looks like he might be out for the season. I think the replacement is Lunch Winfield. What do you know about him and what they'll try and do with the offense with him up there?
Yeah, unfortunate thing for Walker. Looked like he was playing some really good ball versus Rice, and was able to really throw the ball well and tuck it and run. You know, they've been able to keep a similar style offense. I think, you know, the quarterback throws it pretty well. They have utilize some wildcat, I think, to try to take the hits off of him. But he's been around, he understands their offense. I think, one of the things that makes them difficult is they have an offense and defensive identity that's been there really since 2019, the last time I faced them. Same style, outside zone, multiple personnels, utilizing the tight ends, play action vertical throws, defensively, 4 down and to odd, utilize simulated pressure. So, it'll be a challenge for us. Obviously, the quarterback's got limited film, but I do think he's a good player, throws the ball well. And obviously led him to a big victory against Nice. Again, I think the running backs are the guys that give me the most anxiety, just because of their ability to, they've got 2 different style of running backs, but their ability to get the ball on the perimeter, and they're really hard to tackle. They're built very similar to Ahmad. We know that's a difficult style to get to the ground.
Far left, coach.
Coach, what about the receivers have made them so bought into blocking this season? Or does that elevate the offense as a whole?
Honestly, I think when they saw Luther do it in preseason, I think it was something that they realized they could take pride in and be something that this group is known for. And obviously, Coach Peeler's done a really good job. I thought Theo was an outstanding blocker. Josh has always been somebody that we've gotten in to utilize some blocks there. So, for us in that critical moment, I was really nervous about Kevin making that block, but he did a really nice job. Josh overwhelmed his guy, and I'm going to say Marquise did just enough.
In the back.
Dominic getting some recognition for his play, early on here at Mizzou. How do you like how he's really fit into this offensive line and what he's brought and how that group as a whole has come along so far in 2 weeks?
Yeah, Dom's been very consistent. I think it's, the game knows. I think the game rewards those guys who put in a lot of work, and he's been super consistent in leading the offensive line. He was a guy that had them doing extra in the summer and watching film together. I think he's a guy that people gravitate towards. Obviously, he's been a guy who's done a lot of different things for us, played center in spring, right guard in fall camp, and now he's at left guard, settled in nicely. The first game he didn't particularly play as well as we know he could, so I think it was really good for him to settle in, regain his confidence, and now the trick is to not drink the rat poison.
Back on your left, coach.
Coach, you talked about, you guys went 4 for 5 on 4th downs on Saturday, and you talked after the game about how the 25-yard line was the line that you were setting for Robert Myers Ranch. Is that something that could change throughout the year, or is that set in stone and we can expect a lot more 4th downs going forward?
No, I think that could change throughout the year. Robbie's probably got a pretty good accuracy. I wouldn't say accuracy, but enough strength, probably 52 and in, to kick it. In fact, really before that 4th and 1, had we not gotten to the 4th and 1, we were probably going to kick it and give him a shot if we hadn't got a completion there. But once we got on the left hash, 4th and 2 or less, felt really good about our play call there. So that's what decided to make us go. But we were planning on letting him kick it. I just, a young guy's confidence can get shaken really early, and I feel like, the way our drives, especially against UCA, it stalled out in that mid, 30s to 25. I didn't want to put that on him for his first couple of kicks. Sometimes you need to see that 3-foot putt go in the hole before you back it up to a 12-footer, right, John?
We have trouble inside of 3.
Yeah. So you got okay. So you want to see that ball go through the net a couple of times before you back it up to that 3-point shot. So that was the thought process. Now that he's got a couple of kicks under his belt, we'll see how practice goes this week.
Back over to Eli.
Coach, in your opener, you mentioned some of the short yardage stuff and pressures allowed, so I guess just O-line in general through 2 games, what are you making of it?
Well, I will say I was proud of the improvement that group made from week 1 to week 2. And there wasn't as much clear-cut pressure as there was in week 1, right? We didn't have just complete busts. And I thought we did a decent job at the point of attack, but there was too many times on 3rd downs, especially short yardage, where Ahmad and Jamal had to, you want to leave a safety unblocked, not a D lineman unblocked. And there was too many times we left D linemen unblocked that they had to be their own blocker, and that's not how we're gonna do it moving forward. And so, the pressure is on those guys to improve. So, I'm not gonna shy away from it. Those guys are old enough, veteran enough, and we got a fourth-year starting center. So all those guys gotta be on the same page when it's 3rd and 1. And then, at the end of the game, we're up 4 with the ball at midfield, and it's 3rd and 1, and we run a day one play and can't get a yard like that. That ain't good enough. That ain't good enough versus anybody. So I'm not gonna pretend and pat each other on the back and act like we've got all this stuff figured out. Like, the name of the game's improvement, and those guys know it. I mean, they know I didn't feel good about it.
Back over here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just to follow, so is that a communication thing or an effort thing, or?
It's not an effort.
Okay.
There's not anything on tape that would make me question their effort. It's communication and execution. And we gotta communicate better. Five's gotta act as one if we're gonna be an elite offensive line. And we've got 2 elite blockers at tight end. We've got a really good running back, and we've got 5 capable players. So we gotta get on the same page, and they gotta respond to the challenge. And like I said, they grew from week 1 to week 2. But winning doesn't negotiate. If you can't get 3rd and 1, you're not gonna win enough games.
Back here, middle left.
Coach, speaking of improvement, obviously you just talked about improvement on the offensive line. Have talked about areas for improvement heading into Saturday, but what were kind of the key areas, the biggest areas that you saw where the team improved from their week 1 performance to week 2?
Well, I mean, obviously on the offensive side of the ball, I thought our execution on 4th down was critical. I thought our ability to respond in a challenging situation was good. David Cutcliffe has a line that says 1 fumble in a lifetime is 1 too many. And so, we can't fumble the football for a touchdown. That put the whole game out of whack and created a real negative sense with the defense. Oh, you're asking for positives. Defensively, I mean, we held them to 3 yards rushing. I mean, I don't know if I've ever been a part of a game where we outrushed somebody by 258 yards and it was that close in a football game. But that was because, again, self-inflicted wounds, not able to affect the quarterback in the pocket, not able to cover in zone cover, not being able to, finish in the 4th quarter, not be able to finish at the start of the second half. So they've gotten plenty of praise. They've gotten plenty of praise. At the end of the day, there's a lot of things we got to get better at.
Time for a couple more, Cody.
You mentioned the talent and the players that are in the Sun Belt. You obviously know that pretty well. But when it comes to when you're scouting the portal for Sun Belt players, are there specific traits or things that you're looking for in order to add them to the roster?
If they're good enough to help us win, in 2019 when I was at App State, we had 6 guys that are still playing in the pros right now. That's a pretty good roster. I mean, it took me to year 3 to get that here. So it's just whether or not they're good enough to win. And I think there's times where characteristics are important as far as physical traits. But in that league, it's usually they didn't have the physical traits. That's why they're there, and then they just prove how good of a football player they are. And there's something about their work ethic, toughness, desire to improve that gives them that opportunity.
Finish here with Gabe.
I know you said before the season corner was probably your biggest question mark on your defense. What have you thought of those top 3 guys through 2 weeks?
I mean, again, in man-to-man coverage, I thought we were pretty good. I don't think there was an issue. We had an issue on 3rd down communication where we had 2 guys lined up over the tight end instead of one of them get Connie over to get to the other side, which created the explosive play. So there's still some communication and settling down and making sure that, again, 11 acting as one on the defensive side of the ball and on the offensive side of the ball. So, I don't want to be that coach that gives out grades. I got one coach in trouble. So I just say there's stuff that we got to improve on before we get that final exam.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
Thank you.